CKiW iRADIO 76 proudly presents the 515 Show with your host, John Sarver. Who's at the 515 door today?
I'm telling you, we're so looking forward to this. It's only because we have been in Fordland for so long. It was kind of fun. I'm telling you, when there was a like a little Chrysler show that was on Gratiot a couple of months ago, and we had a blast. And I'm telling you, sometimes these Chrysler shows are they're cool, you know. But when we got to this one, it was outstanding. It was unbelievable. It was everything that people told us about, and we loved it. And we didn't think anything until we met this gentleman, and, you know, it was like, come on in. You got to take a look, see what we've got in store. And once we did, it was like, no, it was heaven. So, talk about heaven. Let's call in Dave RADCLIFFE. Hiya, Dave.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Dandy. Now, here's the fun part. Now, we should say, David, your title over there is what?
Parts and Service Director and Manager over Restoration.
Which means he's rich. Okay, good. He's our friend we want to have. Now, this is at Golling's, Roseville, MOPARTS. How close are we?
Good. Yeah, real close. It's Golling Automotive in Roseville, Michigan, and our sub base that we do the restoration is Roseville MOPARTS.
Gotcha. Okay. So now, here we go. And we're not going to be selling anything, but you know what? It's for Mopar, so we'll make an exception here. I'll talk to the guy who owns the station. Don't worry about it. I guess a good-looking fellow, from I understand. Anyways,
cool.
You're located almost, for the old Eastsiders, you're almost where the old Detroit Bakery was, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere.
The exact building.
Yeah, and so you can still see like an old sub bun right next to some 340 heads in the corner if you look hard enough. All right.
That is correct. Hoffa's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
The floor's hollow.
If you want the job done right, make sure it's done with a Chrysler product. All right. So,
yep.
The big picture here is you guys are nothing but 100% Moparts, hence the term, right? Chrysler parts?
Correct.
All right. Now, I don't know if we can get something for a 61 Belvedere, if they're 64, I should say. However, you guys lean towards mostly high-performance parts, right?
We do. We cater pretty much from like that 66, 67 up to like 71, 2 area, but we're not shy of chasing parts for the older cars.
You know, David, how did this all come together? Because I'm sure Mr. Golling probably didn't wake up one morning and go, you know what, this would be a great idea.
No, so back right around 2006, I had a fortunate dealing with Goodmark at the time when they came out with all the sheet metal. So I approached the owner. We had a little downturn in business here. So I said, hey, I know a little bit about this stuff, so let me, do an order. With Goodmark. So we got the order in. We found 2 70 CUDAs that we wound up starting building for Autorama. And we wound up building the 170 CUDA in just over 95 days. We had it ready for Autorama as our showpiece to we use what we sell. So we use it as a marketing tool, and then it just flourished from there. You know, we had a little bit of online presence. We sold the parts within the dealership, so we created a business within a business, and it just took off from there.
And so I assume there is a real Mr. Golling, right?
Correct. So Bill Golling is the owner of the group. He is a true car guy, tried and true. He was excited when he bought the dealership back in 2009 from Mike Reel, and there was a heavy interest in the restoration business because he is a car guy. He has probably about 38 of his own cars. He's got a condo at M1 Concourse.
Wait. He's got 38 cars?
Yes, sir.
38.
Yep.
Okay, so how do people get into his family?
Gene pool. I was born in the wrong one, I can tell you that.
I mean, does he invite you over for the holiday parties? Do you get to drive around in one of the 38s?
I've driven some of his cars. I mean, he's very eclectic. He's got, an 84 Buick Regal all the way back to Airflows and pre-war era Jeeps. So
he's got an Airflow?
Demon. He's got a couple Airflows. He's got a Purple Demon. He just took delivery of a new Jailbreak a couple weeks ago. So all these last call editions, he's going to add to his collection as well.
I'm thinking that Mr. Golling is not married, correct? I mean,
his wife, he's married, and he has two sons.
I was going to say, I don't know. It takes a rare woman to have like a whole lot of cars like that, And really, the wild thing is that if he's got a couple of Airflows, good Lord, for folks who don't know, and shame on you for not, that was Chrysler's venture back in the day of like a technically so far advanced vehicle, it wasn't real.
Right.
But it didn't sell because people didn't think it was flashy enough or whatever. But function-wise, I mean, it set up Chrysler for, the long run, that this is where engineering first, and sometimes, they kind of didn't hit it with the pencil for the design. But, that's wild. And so...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You go and finish.
I mean, that's got to be wild that, that you really, were on the hammock one day and said, you know what, I think I'm going to go up to Bill and say, I got a couple million so we could start this place?
Yeah. So, it's money's good. Money's a good problem to have.
I mean, how much did you have to twist his arm for this?
Well, when we started back in 06, we were under a different ownership. So when Bill acquired this dealership in 09,
Yep.
he took a high interest in it. And his statement to me then was, he's seen where I've been able to take it to a small internet presence. And then we moved it into the bakery in fall of 20. And we just been growing there. And his sentiment then is he wants it to see it as a full-on restoration shop. So since your visit there, I've had, myself, a mechanic, and 2 parts guys, and now we've got 8 guys. So I've been able to hire 2 more mechanics and 2 full-time body guys. So now we're all-encompassing now.
Holy! Now, here's for folks who don't know, and if you haven't seen the video, you should, and I think what we'll do is we'll repost it. But when we were there was not 1, but 2 of the only car in the world that matters, and allegedly I shan't say allegedly, all number matching Superbirds were sitting right there. Yeah,
that was pretty ironic there. 2 good customers of ours. One was an automatic, one was a 4-speed, both vitamin C orange. Very nice cars. Very nice cars.
I mean, Dave, how do these people find you? I mean, of all the places that are around here that you guys specialize in the Chryslers themselves, especially in the muscle car era, I mean, how do they find you?
Well, Mopart's a small pond you fish in, so being a person of interest in that pond, I've been able to network and connect with a lot of the people around town. We sponsored a lot of car shows. We had our own car shows. Have you seen the car show that you came to? That was our startup show again. We had 130. We've had probably almost 250 cars here at one point. So I've been able to network over the last, 18 years just doing parts online with people. And, now we're doing all the Gen 3 parts, which has gravitated a whole new customer base. And we ship all over the world. I mean, we got great customer base in Australia, Michigan, down south, out west. Just being able to take care of the customer and listen to their needs and being able to provide to them has been the big success that we've had.
What was the furthest country that you had to ship something to? You said Australia, but anybody else?
Qatar.
Really? Who's got the money?
Right. Yeah. We just shipped a whole 392 crate assembly out to a gentleman out there, and he's looking to buy a house cat now. So there's people everywhere wants parts, and we're fortunate enough to be able to do that type of business and compete with everybody else in the pond.
Yeah, but I mean, the cool thing about your place is that, from what I saw, I mean, there's places that sell Moparts, and there's places that sell high performance and all that joint. But when you go into your place, there is like a enthusiasm. It's kind of like Norm walking into Cheers. Right. I mean, especially with all the Mopart guys, there seemed to be, what we were seeing is that everybody that was in your place had like the secret handshake. Folks were. Yeah. There was some stuff that you guys had was just mind blowing. I mean, stuff that we've only heard about, and there it was in the real. Wow. Mm-hmm. I mean, for the cars that come in, the ones that you have to fix. Now, I guess we should go back on that one too. The gentlemen that you have, or gentlemen now, I guess, or maybe ladies somewhere in there, that are your mechanics. These are guys that know what a timing light is and what dwell and dual points are, right?
That is correct, and we got a dizzy machine too.
Wow! Here, I'll dust off that one. Okay, but I mean, the thought is that your mechanics know these engines. They're not some guys that you just learned, that you put on a computer and you tune it and you go. These guys actually know these engines.
That is correct. Yep. Yeah, master ASE certified guy. He actually does. Vince is our main mechanic, actually on the dealership side and in restoration. And he feeds the energy off of this stuff. He eats it up all day long. He loves it.
Now, is that the gentleman that started up the Superbird for us?
Yes. Yep.
Nice guy, hell of a guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a super great guy. He's been here 38 years, I believe.
So he's what, 40 now?
Almost 40.
It's got to be fascinating. When people come through that door, and say, "Hey, look, I just happen to have, the Color Me Gone car here, and I need it a little bit of touch up on it. Can you bring it in?" I mean, is there any car that you saw come through your door that you went, "Whoa"?
The Corky's movie car that's here. I mean, that's a George Barris build car, so it's kind of like a whoa there, because you can't really touch that car up. But I'm not afraid to work on any other cars.
I mean, how did you get that Corky car? And explain to people who might not know about the movie car what it is.
So it's a one of two cars that were alive. The movies, I believe it was a mid-'70s movie called Corky's. And it's a 67-based Barracuda that George Barris modified. Got some over-wheel fenders, got slot mags on it, weird rear spoiler, weird interior, modified the front end a little bit, and it's a 4-speed car of all things. So the owner of this one actually owns a numbers matching lime green Superbird that was in the shop the month before. So we've had the pleasure of working on a few of his cars. So he brings it in routinely. He's got a Dukes of Hazzard car, the actual one of the movie cars. He's had a few of those we've worked on. We've had a couple Daytonas in. We've had a couple Hemi Chargers in. So a little bit of everything, but it's just like when you take care of that customer and you have and earn the respect of them and the car, you get that business. And then you get the word of mouth. So, and this is where we've been benefit of, like on the parts side, we've always had a car to reference. So the big thing is we're not just order takers. We actually can tell you the what and the how and any associated parts that go with it. So if you call any of the other big box stores, you get a guy that's just punching part numbers. When you get Ryan or John on the phone or myself, we're going to walk you through it and tell you, oh, you're missing this, or ask you the questions about how your build is going. And now with all the Gen 3 stuff going on, we sell 2 or 3 crate engines a month, and we ship them everywhere. And I just had a conversation with a good customer in Missouri today. He's got a 70-day coated Hemi, Gen 2 Hemi that he wants to pull out and put a 392 in it, and he wanted to know if I wanted to buy it and trade them. I'm like, sure. So, and we got our own cars we're building.
You're building your own cars for
For sale.
No, I mean, I should have said for a quarter mile, for round track, for what?
No, they're restoration builds. So what we did is we bought some projects for wintertime work for the mechanics. And right now we have two 69 Coronet RTs, a 70 Charger RT, and a 67 GTX that are in various stages of build and paint right now. So once we get those done, they'll be for sale on the website and, for retail. Right now we're doing pretty much OE builds and body work for customers. We've got a couple insurance jobs and, we're just trying to make things work, take care of the customer.
Insurance jobs for what kind of cars? I mean, obviously early Mopar, well, quote unquote early Mopar cars, but I mean, how many people rack up their GTX and go, oh, damn, I need a fender?
Well, it happens. The one car that was at our car show was a 68 red Coronet. We put quarter panels and a whole back half on that car a few years ago before we really got into restoration. But since then, since we brought the body guys on in the first of the month, one of their customers that came over, and he had a mishap in his garage where a drop power line hit his garage and caught his garage on fire, and he was putting his brakes on his 69 Coronet.
Oh.
So, ironically, the light blue one that you saw at the car show is a twin to this car here. It's a base Coronet, but it was his father-in-law's car. So he hurried up, put brake fluid in it, put the front wheels on it, and pushed it out, but it did sustain some fire damage. So I'm working with the insurance company now to help him get that car repainted and back to where it was.
So are you guys going to do the Golling MOPARTS Insurance Corporation?
No, I don't think we'll go that far, but we're willing to work with all the insurance companies out there to, get these cars fixed and get them fixed right back to the customers.
Yeah, because that's got to be tough. I mean, yeah, you're right. You have an all-number matching AAR Barracuda, and oops, something happens to it. I mean, really, that's got to be tough for the insurance company. I mean, how do you write that up? I mean,
it's tough. You really have to look at the condition of the car and see how far you can blend into it, or if it's going to be a complete paint job or not. And it's just really working, with the agent to understand what the car is. If there's a lien on it, what's the insured or appraised value on the car, how high you can write the estimate, how much is, the customer going to be responsible for.
Yeah.
Like this guy's, he's got a ding in the quarter panel. That's really not insurance, but we're going to have to blend into the quarter. So, where do you start and stop with that? But there's 3 different colors on the car, and there's a big gouge on the roof. So we already have to blend down into the quarter panels. So I have to call the customer and say, hey, there's a dent in your quarter. You're responsible for that. This is what it is to fix since we got to paint it already. So it's you really got to split hairs, with all the insurance companies, and the classics are even a little bit more defined because you really have to understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I'd almost think, thankfully for like the mid-2000 Mopars that, for all those crazy colors that they had back then, the plum crazies and all that, I don't know where you get those paints anymore. Obviously, you have to do some really nice stuff with PPG to get those colors. But, man, for somebody to have to blend that, talk about an artist.
A lot of spray outs. So, you just basically doing spray outs, changing your tensors to metallics. We've got cameras to check the actual spectrum of the paint to get a baseline, and then you just modify from there.
Wait a minute, cameras?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's a full spectrum camera that you actually set on the paint, and then it actually takes an ultraviolet picture of the paint to give you a true color, and then you load that into the computer, and it'll tell you its closest match, and then you just adjust it from there.
That's on one side of it, Dave, but on the other side of it, what if somebody says, look, I have this fine 67 Barracuda Formula S, and it did come with bronze on it, but I'd really like to have a really, a different paint color. I'd like to do something a little bit more custom. Can you guys do that?
Absolutely. Yep, we do. We'd round it down to the closest color that they would want, or show them a spectrum, tell them to pick it. Kind of like going to Home Depot or Lowe's, looking at the paint chips. Basically do the same thing. So what you do is you do a spray out, do a couple of variants of the color, show it to them in the light and in the darkness so they understand what the color looks like in the dark and in the light, and then you just go from there.
Wow. Okay, and so if you wanted to have some custom stripes on it, not tape, but real custom painted stripes. You can do that too?
Yep.
No wraps. Yep. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, Dave,
yeah, my one paint, the one body guy I have here, he's actually had a couple cars to SEMA this year. So, you know,
really?
I'm pretty confident in our abilities. Yep, pretty confident. And, you know, they're good painters. So,
Dave, how did you pluck this guy?
Both of them.
Both of them?
You know, the local business that, you know, the owner had passed and the son didn't want to run the business anymore. So, we wound up talking to him over time, pre and post his father passing, and we took him in and trying to continue what they started there, and we're just moving forward and growing the business. You know, we hired them on as good employees and, you know, trying to take care of them and navigate the waters of restoration, and we're just keep forging forward to grow the business.
You know, how did you come up with that one, too? Because, I mean, if you've been doing mechanics and parts and all that stuff, I mean, when did the apple fall in your head and go, you know what, maybe we should expand, since I think across the street or across the parking lot or whatever, they may have a downdraft booth over there. Maybe we should get folks on our side. I mean, how did that come to you?
Well, came from Mr. Golling himself in 2019 when we talked and walked through the building. You know, his sentiment was he wants to see that building to be an all-encompassing restoration, full-on build site from the front of the building to the back. So we're achieving that, and that was 2 years ago. So we're almost there. So in 2023, we'll have everybody migrated into that building, and we'll actually be doing that. We have all the, you know, B&E body frame fixtures here. We got rotisseries, all the tooling, bead rollers, jigs. So we're ready to go.
I mean, how many folks will come in, Dave, and ask for a full rotisserie?
Since they found out in the last 3 weeks that we've actually have what we have here now, I probably have about a dozen people that's already put their name down for body work.
Chinga. Yep. Why don't you run over there to talk to Mr. Golling and say, hey, boss, things are paying off. We may need to expand into your building.
Well, that's true. That's always a possibility to need to have more room. So, you know, we're willing to walk and run, and right now we're jogging. So we see a lot of potential down the road with what we're doing. And, you know, all the other shops around town or out of state, you know, they're backed up 2-3 years with doing restorations. Right now we're probably, you know, into the spring, summer with what we have right now. But I'll entertain talking to anybody about, you know, working on their car in all aspects.
Dave, would you think about expanding even more? I mean, more people, more stuff, more power?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, right now we got a 1950 F100 we're actually taking apart right now for media blast and a full body and redo.
Wait a minute, a what?
1950 F100 Ford pickup truck.
Oh, I thought you said that. All right.
Yep.
Well,
we're mixing the blue oval in with the Mopar.
Good man, you. Yep. See, we don't discriminate. Everybody gets to come through that door.
You got it.
How did,
you know, we do have customers right now that buy Chevelle and Mustang parts. You know, we just don't let it out of the bag because our focus is Mopar. You know, we don't want to discriminate against some off-brand, you know, vehicles. You know, the Chevys and the Fords, but you know, we'll work on them and we'll do work on them. So
those low production cars, yeah, those things.
Yep, those 100-to-1 cars.
It's amazing. I mean, even more amazing is when you walked in, and I don't know if everything was set up when we saw it because it was the car show and you had like a lot of parts all over the place. I mean, not all over the place. It's not like it's somebody's backyard or something, but there was parts everywhere, engines on stands and front ends and chrome still in their wrappers and stuff. I mean, is that part getting? I mean, the stuff that you've got was some of the stuff that I saw, I didn't even think you could get anymore, frankly. You know, and the one parts that we did see, normally you see the cheap knockoffs, and these weren't. You know, I mean, but it looked like it was getting cramped. I mean, is it time for a big warehouse? I mean, how are kind of those new old stock and OEM things, how is that business going?
Good. We do have customers around the state that, they'll call me from time to time and say, hey, I got some NOS stuff for sale, or I've got some used parts. So I'll either go look at them or they'll bring them up, and we'll come to a number and I'll buy them and we'll sell them through the store because, if we're doing parts for almost 20 years online, we have a pretty good customer base and they know what we can get. We deal with 2 salvage yards out of state, 3 or 4 actually, but there's really nothing that we can't get. And if we do, we'll tell you right away it's unattainable. But we've had good success with the dealer network of finding NOS parts for customers because we are a Chrysler dealer, so I can use that to our benefit, along with all the Gen 3 stuff. But, when it comes to selling that stuff, it's not really a museum for me. It's all about providing a service for a customer. If they want the part and I can get it, I'll sell it to them.
Yeah, but it's wild, though. I mean, if you know your Chryslers whatsoever, just walking into that little area, or actually big area, frankly, and you just see some of those parts, your mouth just goes, whoa, I've never seen one of those in real life. I mean, has there something come up to you, Dave, and said, I need this part, and it just stumped you, but yet you could still pull it off?
It's very few it will. A lot of times guys are buying cars in boxes, so when they bring me that erroneous part, I'll look at it and say, it's an off-brand part. It's not a Mopar part. So, and they'll get a chuckle because they don't know what they're looking at. But there is once in a while I'll get a part where I'm not sure, so I'll try to do some research for them, and I'll try to get them the right answer.
I was going to say, because how many times do people say, look, Dave, I need to get valve covers for a 273 Commando, the true black finish with the vent or with the little rib things on the top. Can you find them for me? I mean, has there been anything that I was going to say stumped you when they said, look, we need to find this part? Can you find it somewhere in the world for you? And then you scratched your head and go, where in the world will I find something like this?
Well, with the salvage yards that we deal with, they have networks as well. So a lot of times they horse trade to get me the part. So there has been instances like pre-63 parts are pretty difficult to find. C-body parts are difficult to find because nobody really makes them. So you really have to find good original or NOS parts. So it's understanding what you're dealing with and really being upfront and honest with the customer, or sitting there saying, I can get it or I can't. Last thing we want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. But, with John and Ryan down there, they do a really stellar job with telling the customer very black and white, yeah, I can get it, or no, I can't, or hey, give me some time, give me a day or two. I'll put some feelers out and see if I can get it. And if we score, then we get it and ship it to the customer.
Wow. I mean, shouldn't you guys have like a big mail order side? All right. Look, Bill Golling, if you're listening, these folks need more room. This thing is obviously going to take off, and it's doing gangbusters. How long did you say you were there? Just a couple of years, right?
Yeah. Mr. Golling bought the dealership in December of 2019.
Yeah, right. Okay, but look at how far you've come in 3 years and in COVID years.
Yep.
Okay. I would,
because we've been able to reach out past our normal. When you can reach past your normal group, your local group, and you can reach past that and expand that, you don't really know where your boundaries are at until you find them. Right now, I feel we don't have any boundaries because we ship worldwide. So when the economy or some things are slow here, they may be gangbusters off or across one of the ponds. So we don't look at it as too much of a demise or a down point. We always have potential. We just got to keep asking the right questions.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have all this, but if you don't have folks like you talking to the folks across the counter, who's obviously your enthusiasm comes through the speakers here already for what you do. I mean, this doesn't seem to be like a 9-to-5 tip for you, Dave.
No, my phone dings all night long. I have to silence it sometimes. My wife looks over at me sometimes and saying, "Are you working?" And I'm like, "Nope." And I'm just sending a link to the website for somebody who knows where they're at. So I generally don't, I don't sleep much, but I work a lot. I started that problem when I was 14, but nonetheless, you just got to keep networking. You got to keep communicating with them. You just got to keep putting yourself out there and letting them know what you have and what you have to offer.
I don't sleep much, but I work a lot. How much do you sleep at night, Dave?
Generally 4 to 6.
4 hours? 4 hours.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, 4 to 6 is usually my play.
So how long have you had this bad cocaine problem? How the hell do you do what you do in 4 hours?
Right?
Yeah, and if anybody that's built a Chrysler engine before, you know that cocaine is cheaper than some Chrysler parts.
You got that right. You got that right for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's sticker shock when you went there, but I mean, even back in the day when Gratiot Auto Supply was still around, it was like camshaft for, LA Motor, A Motor, I should say, $700 for a 340. But if you want the Chevrolet 350, right here, right in Chatham's or Great Scots, we got plenty right next to the Walnuts. It's like, yeah,
right.
Okay. The fun thing about what you guys do, and I know that you do an F-150 and you don't turn anybody away or something, but if you're any kind of Mopar people, I don't know, Dave, have you noticed that Mopar folks are a lot more loyal?
They are, and this is where you got to earn their trust and respect. With the clients and the customers we have local to us that bring in their cars, like the 2 Superbirds, that was word of mouth. The dark blue Hemi Charger that was here, he bought that at Mecum last spring, and we had the opportunity to work on that car because it was word of mouth. $300,000 cars are coming in the door, and we're, because the customers trust us, and that's where it comes, is we've been able to build that trust out of respect. And, we take care of each car and each customer one at a time, and focusing on and listening to what they're saying and what they need and what the car needs. We prioritize lists by that. The Hemi Charger was a laundry list because he bought it at Mecum, didn't know anything about it. So we had the vehicle actually inspected and validated, and it had the original carpet in it, all the original sheet metal, the original engine and trans in it. It had a racing history, so there was a misnomer that it didn't have this or that. Well, when the guy came out, he says it's all there. Bonus for the customer, and we took care of that for him, and he was happy. Now I've got 2 more cars he's bringing in next week to have validated and go through and, make sure the cars are mechanically sound. And, this is where, we're in that pond, and everybody in the area is, listening and looking.
Yeah, and then they tell 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends. And it goes
Correct.
Both ways. If you're really a jerk, they tell 2 friends, and then all of a sudden there's the Detroit Bakery is back in your slot. But doing what you're doing, it
Right.
sounds like I would be looking at that U-Haul place there and going, you folks want to sell soon?
We do have a building adjacent to the dealer just south of us that we're looking at procuring, sometime. We don't know what where our potentials are going to be. We know where we're at right now with parts, mechanical, and production of cars and getting the restorations done. So we're definitely open for future work and expansion. We're going through that right now. And as a dealer, we're continuously trying to grow. So being able to just listen to the customer and take care of it, which is a principle of any dealer, we just adopted that over in the restoration area, and it's worked.
I mean, it's got to be amazing, and I know that we talk about them a little bit too much. It's only because in this day and age, you really don't have the person at the quote-unquote top that is interested in what you do. They're interested in the quarterly reports. They're interested in that bottom line. But, man, it's got to be amazing when he walks across the parking lot and he sees the Superbirds in there. He sees all the bays are going. He hears when you knock on the door and say, hey, man, we got to hire. We got to go big, and for him to sign off on it, I assume he signs off on it, that's got to be phenomenal for you, because look at the trust you built up with him now.
Oh, for sure. Mr. Golling uses it as a showcase. Every time he walks through there when he's here, he smiles, grins. He goes, he loves the display. He loves everything on the wall. He loves the cars. He's a true car guy. He can relate. And when the Chrysler executives are on this side of town and he brings them in, right away he brings them to there and go, look what we're doing. I'm pretty confident that we're, besides a GM dealer in Texas, I'm pretty confident to say that we're the only Chrysler dealer in the country that do what we do at the level that we do it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are almost like Grant Spalding Dodge again.
Pretty close.
Look at look at how long those cars, Dave, still have that fond memory attached to them. Or a Yanko, if you go with those small business cars kind of thing. It's amazing how much, especially if you see a Mr. Norm on the side or a Grant Spalding Dodge, and of all the other Dodge dealerships, Chrysler dealerships that were doing high performance stuff, that was like a 1+. When you saw the car came out of there, on the other side, can you talk to Mr. Golling and say, hey, look, here's a new Hellcat. Why don't you bring 10 over to our side? Let's tweak it a little bit, and then we'll sell it as a Golling Hellcat.
It's funny how you say that. We just talked about that the other day in a couple conversations with the VP and the GM here that we're looking to do a DSR conversion on a car or two.
And what was the response?
Sure.
Really?
We're looking for a vehicle. Yeah. So the DSR 1150, we actually have it in stock. So we're going to potentially look at some form of Hellcat, Challenger, probably non-wide body, and make our own wide body kit for it. Put a DSR 1150 in it, flash the trans, beef it up a little bit, and make our own custom.
So you're going to call it the Dave?
Maybe. As long as I can take it home.
Wow, okay. Well, these things have to have a date, or a name on it. Think about it. How long Grant Spalding? That's stuff from half a century ago, and it's still incredibly worth a lot. For you guys to come out now, yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's definitely something we're looking at. We're already talking about possibly doing a SEMA build for next year. Now that SEMA's out and done, we're looking at what Chrysler's ramped up with that new 1500 Gen 3 Hemi they have, along with the DSR motor. So we're kind of conjuring, what can we possibly do in 23 to possibly hit SEMA, with a car or two and see where it goes, or, just start doing custom builds here and keep forging forward.
So, Dave, are they thinking about doing any kind of sponsorship for races or campaign a car or something? We
do have a local drag pack car that we did talk to a little bit at the car show. It was that red one up on the corner. We did have a little bit of conversation with him, and I think going into this season coming up, we'll have further conversation with sponsorship with him. We'd rather sponsor a local guy that races local than a local guy that races down south. For us to put our name out there, it really needs to impact, our market and a little bit of outside of the market. So, but yeah, it's definitely something we're already looking at.
So, psst, Dave, why don't you drive it?
I could, maybe.
Yeah.
If I get certified.
Yeah, it's not that terrifically difficult. And considering that, hey, those people won't know if a Superbird's missing for a weekend, will they?
That's true. Or the Daytona.
Yeah.
We got a couple of Daytonas that flourished in through here. So
yeah. You got to do carburetor testing anyways, right? So why go on grass it?
You got to make sure that throttle to brake acceleration is good. You got to make sure everything is working order. Everything rotates really well.
Why we love Dave Radcliffe. Yeah, okay, that's exactly right. You want to make sure that Dana is working correctly, right?
You got to make sure the fluids are moving at our RPMs.
Excellent.
We got a short test track here, and we get it gone.
And not that kind of gun, folks. But lucky you that you guys are right on Gratiot. Gratiot East Side is nothing but traditionally Mopar, and so this is almost, for folks who don't know, Gratiot is, I don't want to say the AAA ball of Woodward, but if you're hip enough, there's three kind of, traditionally in Michigan, there's Telegraph, Woodward, and Gratiot. Gratiot being on the east side, as Telegraph being more on the west, and Woodward somewhere in the middle. Woodward has kind of the name and reputation, but if you knew anything whatsoever, east side is where things were happening. The Shadow Woods teams were there. Gratiot Auto Supply started there. I still think Shadow Woods is over there still. They just got a new place, I guess, maybe. It's an amazing place, and for you to have that much real estate there at 11 Mile, especially at that red light, considering that when that red light unfortunately drops green and the throttle body seems to stick, doggone it. You know, I don't know why my tires smoke like they do around Golling.
we have a good rapport with the local officials, I can tell you that.
I bet you. I mean, do they ever come in and say, look, why don't you tell these people to cool it?
They'll look over, and we'll look, and they may ride up on the side of us and say, hey, what you doing? And then we'll show them the repair order in the window, and it's like, we're just testing and tuning. We got to make sure it works and goes.
Yeah.
Can't give the customer an unhappy car.
No, because then they won't come to the east side and they won't eat at the east side restaurants, and then we, be harder to pay taxes, harder to pay for cops. See how that all goes?
Right.
Amazing. Now,
it's a sickler problem.
It's not even a problem. It's helping everybody.
You got it. That is true.
All right. So next year there's going to be another car show, I assume. Over. All right. So we better talk about that in the few minutes that we have left. Okay. So it's coming next year. The brilliance of having it late in the year, and it made sense when you told us about it. Why you don't have it in June? Tell the folks.
Cooler weather. It's the last kickoff hurrah before you put your car away on the east side. We pushed it back to first weekend in October because weather's usually fairly good and the cars run a lot better. And it's really the last show on this side of town or in the state. And the customers enjoy it. They're happy that after a 12-year hiatus of our show, we brought it back, and it showed. We had about 130 cars here, and a little overcast, a little wind, a lot of sun, but it was a great time. And I positioned it at the end of the year for exactly that. Cool weather. I'd rather walk around a car show with jacket and be comfortable than a June or July or an August show sweltering and the car's baking, not running good.
Well, I'm telling you, there's a thing called an NJS, a no junk show, where it almost looks like something where it should be at Cranbrook. And there's a very few car shows, because anybody who has a parking lot has a car show, and God bless them all, for bringing whatever you got. But there was absolutely no junk at your show, and it was, I don't know if anybody was doing any kind of awards. I didn't see anybody passing out anything. I mean, the DJ, that was a cool touch, but whoever has that white Charger, and I think it was a 66 or something, I'm getting into that family too. God bless. I don't know who that thing was, but that was an incredible car.
Yeah, there was a couple really nice Hemi cars here. There was the blown Roadrunner that was here, the drag pack car. A lot of nice cars. A lot of Chrysler employees were here that, I've been selling parts to for years. And it's the support from the local, car group, Twisted Axle. Those guys were here. They brought, I think, 10 or 15 cars just themselves. And those guys are gearheads. They drive their junk, as they call it. And, good group of guys. And, we've been fortunate to where we just got a good customer base, and our local people that we deal with, they appreciate what we do and we appreciate them. And, it shows by the turnout of the car show, because I know the car before I know the customer, but when I see the car and then I can put the customer to there, then I kind of, oh, hey, how you doing? But it's a good time. It really is.
We're just thinking, too, I mean, is there any chance that before the show, I mean, somewhere in June, somewhere in May, you guys will have car and coffee?
Yeah, we did talk about that going into the spring, where we're going to start up a Cars and Coffee probably once or twice a week. We do Cars and Coffee at M1 Concourse now through Golling Automotive. And that's usually once a month out there, where we'll sponsor that. And then we usually take one of the old cars out there and put it on display with new car display out there. But we will have some type of Cars and Coffee starting up in the spring here to keep the traffic coming.
Funny enough how I knew all these questions beforehand, isn't it? Okay, cool. Talking about your mind reader. Yeah, that to me is kind of cool because, I mean, M1's nice, but, the common guy can come over to Golling and hang out, and everybody knows where 11 and Gratiot is. Pop off 696, there you go. Hopefully Gratiot will be all put together so it's not as crazy as it's been the last couple of years.
Yeah, they just finished it, actually.
new asphalt, folks. So for those who have Mickey Thompsons, I'm just telling you, it's easier to rough them up on those. Hurry, come quick. Go where the air is cold. Talk about, you know what, Dave? We haven't even got into your background. I mean, you just didn't show up one day, and whomever was before Golling, I guess Jim Reel said, Dave, you look like a Mopart guy. Why don't you come in and work for us?
It's funny. So, my dad and my grandfather retired out of Jefferson North, so I've kind of been a Chrysler guy all my life.
Yeah.
And, I bought my first Challenger in 85 when I was in high school, and I still have the car today. I actually painted the car the year before my twins were born, and that was 25 years ago.
Wow.
I actually have that car still today, and actually here in the shop we just did a little bit of work to it. But, I just gravitated to it over the years. I bought cars, as parts cars to put that car together, and then always been into it, went to the Mopar Nationals and local shows and just networked with people, knew a lot of people just from trading parts. And then as the year has gone on at the dealership, I started as a porter, worked as a mechanic, and then got into parts, and then life happened, and then I gravitated into management, ran parts, ran power sports for a few years when we were Yamaha and Arvicat dealer.
Yeah.
I was the GM of that. And then we closed that up, and then restoration came along, and then fast forward till now. It's like the job picked me. It was kind of weird because when I look back, I didn't know what this job was. I didn't even think it was a thing, but, I was going for, to be an electrician, and it just picked me. Life happened, and fast forward, here I am. I got 3 kids later, and, house bills and everything. I'm just working, and it's all good. But yeah, I can probably pretty say I've been a Chrysler guy all my life, and I could say that.
Yeah, but the cool thing is that the difference between, because some of the big box stores, if you ask them for advice, oh sure, you can put these W2 heads on that 318. Mm-hmm. Sure,
right.
That's why it's so much better. I mean, Chrysler knows folks who are pulling their knee, and that's the polite version of saying stuff. When you have a Chrysler to Chrysler, when you can talk direct connection, if you will, then they feel so much more relieved that, okay, these guys know what they're doing. And Chrysler guys will test you. I don't know if Chevrolet or Ford guys won't, but Chrysler guys will throw you a couple of questions just to see if you really know your stuff, and then they'll be your best pals forever if you answer correctly.
Yeah, it's all about trust. It's like once you got their confidence and trust, it's like, they're a customer long term until they don't need you anymore. But the people who drive the new cars have old cars, and that's we established that a long time ago, and it's a good thing. And you're right. The customers will call and they'll say, "Hey, can I do this and can I do that?" And we'll say, "No, you really need to do this." And if we're not sure, we'll tell them we'll try to get them the answer. We're not going to try to give them the wrong answer, because that's just the wrong thing to do.
Right.
Because for us to call Chrysler right now and call the hotline, they don't have the answer because they can't tell you what's available. We can tell you what's available because we see it, sell it, order it all day long.
No other reason to go anywhere else but 11 Mile and Gratiot, as far as I'm concerned. All right, Dave, in the just a few seconds that we got left, we better start naming some names here. The folks you work with in your place are whom?
John Soulier, Ryan Radcliffe, Vince Jugowitz.
Wait a minute.
Eric
It's just kind of weird how we try to slide that one through the pile there. Yep. I'm thinking it's kind of weird that people have that Radcliffe name on the back there.
Little nepotism. Yep. Yep. So Ryan is my son. He's doing a good job over there with John doing the parts gig. Vince and Mark are the mechanics with Jacob, and then Vinny and Eric are the body guys. And, I got 8 good guys working for me now, and we all have the common goal of getting the work done and taking care of the customer.
All right, and we better talk on the other side, of course. There's Mr. Golling, and the VP on that side is who?
Matthew and Michael Golling are the VPs of the corporation, and Bill's the owner.
Funny enough how we have to only know 2 names, Golling and Radcliffe, and they run the whole establishment. Not bad.
Well, not bad. Not bad at this facility, I tell you.
All right. So quickly, too, if they want to get a hold of you, how do folks find you? If folks need parts, if they need advice, where do they go? How do they get a hold of you?
The best thing to do is go to the website, ROSEVILLEMOPARTS.com, and then you can search any part you need there. There's a question tab if you have a question or can't find it. And then there's a Ask a Question tab where you can email us directly, and one of the three of us will get back with you within a day, or if not shorter.
Wow.
Or you can just give us a call directly at the 586-859-2600 number if you're in the U.S. If you're outside, you got to play the time zone game.
Yeah, but you're going to go to the right spot, and obviously you're not going to be, to some big box place that go, let me see now, and they give you some kind of, 202 head for a slant 6. Okay, there you go. A head's a head.
Right.
All right. Dave Radcliffe, thank you so very much for being. Will you come back on with us a little later on?
My friend.
Awesome. Folks,
absolutely.
It's an incredible place to go. And if you're anywhere on Gratiot whatsoever, it's on the northbound side. You're not right. You're about a mile and a half or 2 miles from the Roseville Police Department. So, if your tires have sticky compound, let the folks at Golling know that, you're going to try to help them out a little bit. Amazing. Thanks, David. Thanks so very much for being with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Bye now.
Yep. Take care. Thank you.
Dave Radcliffe. It's everything that you heard there is exactly how this guy is. And we really here at CKiW always go under the saying that the captain sets the tone for the ship. And Dave's enthusiasm that you heard come right through that radio, that's a genuine dude. Chrysler people are very enthusiastic because it's out of the three, we're kind of the smaller, if we call we, Mopar and us, and so we again, Mopar people know the secret handshake. They know, the difference between, an RB body, et cetera, and they appreciate it more because there's obviously less cars and less engines and stuff. But the performance were there. Chrysler has this huge history. At one time that Chrysler even put out a thing saying, you can run whatever funny car body you want, but thanks a lot for running our Hemi engine in there. If it wasn't for that Hemi, where's racing today? However, says the Ford and Chevy guys. However, it's a fascinating place. You go inside of it, and it's kind of like Best Buys for Mopar or some kind of micro center for Mopar or something like that. They just have some fantastic stuff, and they're as casual as you heard Dave. We were so knocked out with them. As soon as we walked in there, we signed them up to come to a 515. We're going to go back there, and man, if they got a coffee and muffin show, we're going to be there too. They attract high caliber cars and higher caliber people, because everybody that was there at their thing was just as friendly as they could be, sitting on the chairs, and folks normally get really weird when you get close to their car, especially if you have one of those big Elvis belt buckles, but these folks, they were cool about it. And we were talking to a gentleman with a GTX that was it was an insane car. And he knew top to bottom. And Chrysler people, they don't give you the weird handshake. They actually tell you what it is, and that's what it is. It's amazing. And for these guys to do it, here, Bill Golling, come here. Come a little closer. Somehow, some way, find some money underneath your couch, or find that ATM that you got buried in your backyard. This place, the Roseville Mopart thing that has your name on the top of it, is going to blow up. It's going to explode. Ooh, maybe we shouldn't say that in 2022. It's going to get really, really big, And I don't know how many people are going to be buying Jeeps and whatnot on that side. But this side, you got the right people with Dave Radcliffe running the place. You got the right location right there on Gratiot and Roseville. And you got the right stuff, that there's kind of not a lot of Chrysler dealerships that will do this and have real mechanics, guys that actually know, what a sun wall looks like. Good Lord. I'm telling you, Bill, psst, psst, psst. Open up that wallet, son, man. You are going to be making all kinds of money, talking about making all kinds of money. We got to get out of here. The Detroit Sports Authorities are going to come up here live at 7 o'clock. They're going to be right down the hallway to Studio B. If you love Detroit sports as much as they do, you'll love the Detroit Sports Authorities coming up here today at 7 p.m. But till that time, kiddies, we got to get out of here. So, but always, we're going to see you, and we're going to talk about them pesky Lions. But remember to always follow your dreams, right?